Okay, we are live. Hey, how are you? Hi, Donna.
Yay! Hi, Linda. How are you? I'm so happy to have our Thursday.
Yes, me too. I always look forward to Thursdays. I'm either with you or I'm with someone else on the alternating Thursdays, and it's one of my favorite days of
Linda,
the
are you cheating on me?
week. No, no.
We have an open relationship, everyone, just so everyone knows.
This is she's another health practitioner,
That's
so like really in the realm of health. So yeah,
awesome.
okay.
All kidding aside, we have to have fun, right? During the day,
Yeah,
we have to have
not to worry, Donna. Don't worry.
fun.
Since our topic is worrying.
Yes.
Um,
Oh my gosh, so appropriate. So
yeah.
appropriate for today's topic.
Yes. So, and we chose worry for today just because, like, if you look out at the landscape of the world and of our
Yeah.
life and of this country, people are worried about a lot of things. And so, you know, it's just a good conversation to have. How much do we need to worry? What are we really worrying about? Right? All of that. And then maybe what could we do to mitigate that?
Yeah, I found and I'm so glad we're talking about this topic because I found this whole conversation to be so fascinating in that, worry is something that we are not intrinsically, I think, born with. I think we're born with the ability to, again, scan the environment for any sort of, is there a threat? And then sort of what do we need to do? And back when there were dinosaurs roaming, that fight or flight instinct in us, right? Or animals or things like that were helpful because if we were going to get eaten by a lion, we need to run or we need to find a place to find safety. So that instinct was there. But, if we think about as we're living today, we don't have those same types of threats. I think now the threats are more lifestyle threats, right? So what's going on in our lives, who's maybe not treating us well, how are our relationships going, how is our eating going, what's going on in our families. They're more lifestyle sort of threats, but our body is responding very much as it would in the past with this worry. And the whole concept of, do we really need to worry as much, or is there another way to handle it, is just fascinating. So what do you think? I know we were talking a little bit before we started and you mentioned this whole scanning of the environment. So I'd love to hear your side of the story.
Yeah, well, I think we're wired as living
Mhm.
organisms. That's a way that we protect ourselves, like you said. So if thousands of years when the biggest threat was a tiger chasing you, but we always had to have our response system on. It was a way of protecting
Yes.
us, ourselves,
Yep.
and ensuring survival. So we were constantly looking. I think that mechanism is still turned on, but it doesn't need to be. So, like as you said, now it's noticing, or we are noticing things that aren't
Yeah.
threatening our life, but more of our lifestyle and our
And
choices.
our emotions for sure. Right.
Mhm.
Yep. Hmm.
But it's the same mechanism. We're just scanning and looking for, so that's one way I think that worry stays present in our lives. But there's a couple of other things too, I think, that can happen, like the great article that you shared with me.
Yep. Yep. And I do want to read a little piece because I think this article is something that's fascinating, and I found it through the School of Life, and it's a blog that has some really wonderful information. And the whole concept of the article was the paradox of how some of us might need to find something to worry about in order to recover our equilibrium. Right. So it's the way that the whole article starts is some of us do start to feel distinctly nervous when things around us settle down and pervasive stillness descends. We start to feel anxiety about the future precisely when, and in a sense because, there's nothing especially awful on the horizon. We wake up in the middle of a quiet night filled with unnameable dread. We may pick up our phones in the hope of they will deliver a requisite shock of anxiety. We scan the news for alarming stories. We look out for aggressive or problem-laden emails, and normally we quickly hit on something to return us to the familiar panicked mode.
Hmm.
And how often does that, I know, at least in my experience, until I've learned how to sort of set my equilibrium, that's exactly what I would do. That when I had a time in my life or hours of a day where I felt there was nothing but peace, it would almost make me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I had to be scanning, looking for stuff to worry about. And I didn't know I was doing that.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was doing it, but I felt like if that time that was peaceful was so uncomfortable, that being in chaos and anxiety was more comfortable than being in peace.
Yeah, we go to what's familiar, even if it's not necessarily what's good for
Right.
us.
Right.
So I think a lot of that maybe gets started in childhood. A couple of different things. It might be behavioral patterns and thought patterns that are just handed down to us from family, right? We live in a family where the conversations you're hearing as a little kid are around worry between
Oh
your
my
parents.
gosh.
Your
I don't know
parents.
about you. I grew up in a house of worry. Like, money doesn't grow on trees, and you got to take that job, even if it's not the best money, because who knows what other jobs are out there. And if you don't have a job, how are you going to live? And all,
Yeah.
I don't, it was all based upon, I think, reaction and worry.
Right. So there's identity, behavioral patterns, and identity that we've taken on just because the other people, the adults and leaders in our family were doing that. So that's one thing. And then there's another thing. And actually, Suzanne just mentioned here that I feel can you see the comments,
I
Donna?
cannot see the comments. No, you have to post them, I think.
Oh,
can you show them?
It's to some destinations.
I think right underneath it, there's a button that says show. In the comment section, it should say show comments. When you scroll over it.
Oh, show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. How many times have we been doing this? And I didn't.
But I don't think this is the comment. This is just a general comment. Is this? You have to go to the one that your friend or that you're listening.
Oh, I see. Okay.
There you go. There it is.
Oh, each time somebody comments, I have to do that so you can. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So anyway, so as you can see, Suzanne says, I feel the reason for that, for checking when there is peace is because you want to avoid the surprise of a past trauma.
Okay. So honestly, I got to jump in here because this is too, I hope that's okay. I don't mean to overstep, but bingo, Suzanne, you nailed it, because here's the truth. We are scanning our environment, and we're having anxiety and we're having worry for the fear that something is happening. But the reason we're scanning our environment for the fear and the worry is because it already happened.
Yes.
It already happened, and we didn't properly move through it. We didn't properly process it. So it's already embedded as a fear. So we're actually spending so much time and energy focused and worried and anxious about a perceived fear that's not going to happen. It has already happened, and you're experiencing the anxiety and the chaos and the need to worry because it has happened. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that when I was listening and just sort of processing through this, and I was reading some articles in my bed before I went to sleep the other night, that was life-changing to me. That moment when that it clicked. I was like, wait a minute. All of our behavior, not all, the chaos and the worry isn't because we're worrying about a future event. It's because the event already happened and we didn't process through it. So it's residual trauma and worry that's following us.
Yeah. So I've been a bit aware of this because of the impact on the body, because of what I do with health.
Yes.
Very contributory to autoimmune issues, just past stress, because the energy. So let's just say you experience some trauma as a 5-year-old. It could be like a really bad fight between your parents or a car accident that you witnessed. I don't know, some sort of trauma. And maybe the adults didn't even realize that you noticed it or something, right? It doesn't have to be. So to me, let me just sidestep. Trauma used to mean really bad. Like, oh, does that mean sexual abuse? Or
Yes.
no, trauma doesn't have to mean that.
Nope.
Trauma can just mean any event. It doesn't mean you were raised by terrible people who beat you. It was just normal living, but something happened that was impactful enough.
That's right.
And maybe nobody realized you even noticed it, or maybe they didn't know how to help you through it. Whatever the case.
Yep.
Now you've recognized it and the energy is in your body.
Yes. Yep.
And it stays there.
Yep.
10 or 15 years go by. So we're talking about worry. So you've got this pattern now of, what if that's going to happen again? Just always looking out and being worried.
And now, Linda, would you say a lot of that, what if it's going to happen again, is subconscious? Because I think it's almost subconscious. We're not really understanding why we're worrying. We're just experiencing the emotion of worry.
Exactly.
We're not pinning it back to the time we were 5 years old and we heard that conversation, because that's out of our consciousness.
Yeah, because our conscious brain probably knows that's not going to happen again.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Consciously, we're living our lives and it might be a great life. How often does that happen? People have a really great life where someone else would look in and go, what are you worried about? I mean,
yes,
you've got plenty of income, you've got a stable family, but for them, they're still waiting because that emotion and that trauma is still in there.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So there's that, and then that affects their body physically. So here, Suzanne shared another one.
Mm-hmm. Suzanne, we love you here. This is ideal. Yes.
Suzanne's on it, man. She's always like researching and looking for the next thing. Half the time I'm like, whoa. Suzanne.
Oh, an art psychotherapist. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Creativity. Yeah. Yes. Some people create the chaos, thrive on it, and the perceived need to fix it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's just bring it into the moment today.
You may need to remove that because it's very high. So I think we're just getting.
How do I move it?
I think you just there you go.
Okay. I thought only I could see that. I didn't realize that's out in the world. Thank you.
Oh, it will be kind of like whatever that show was where the fence comes up to the eyes. And
I saw that, but I thought it was just I could see it. I have to hide again.
This is so much fun. I love these types of meetings.
I'm not worried about looking good on these lives. I just don't worry about it. Okay. So what was I going to say though? Oh, so fast. So that's one whole realm where worry can happen and come from, right? The past behaviors that you learned.
Yeah.
But then there's also the actual events today that are worrisome, that have people really putting a lot of their energy and their time towards, living in what's going to happen with the election, what's going to happen this winter with COVID, right? Those are the two most, obvious things right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you think about that and the impact that has on our daily energy expenditure, experience of life in the present?
What do I think about the need for worry, the current need for worry?
Well, when there actually are things to worry about. So we talked about how there's times of peace. And there's really nothing to worry about, but we're scanning and looking. You could argue it's not necessarily a time of peace right now, that there are some real things to worry about. And so what do we do then?
Yeah. I mean, and there are, and I think that, and I'm not minimizing, and please don't get me wrong when I say this, I'm not minimizing that we do have some serious issues on the table right now that are very impactful to many, many, many people. What I kind of also will say is that life is like a series of those impactful events, right? If it's not the election, it's going to be something else. If it's not COVID, what did we have? The swine flu. We had, what were some other things? SARS virus. Then we had, I think it was the flesh-eating bacteria, right? Like, I feel like there's always, remember that? All those things, and I think and again, I'm not minimizing what it is, but I think it's really important to remember that a lot of what makes people worry and gets them incited to extreme worry is the media.
Ugh, so true. Yes.
Right. And what the media's attention. Now, I'm not saying I'm for the media, I'm against the media. Everyone has to decide that for themselves. But what I will say is that, when you turn on the news is all about bad news. And if you think about how the media, newspapers, news stations, how they keep their ratings, it's not good news. They have actually tried that before in the past. Someone has said, why is the news always bad? We're going to try some good news. And the good news station failed. People, unfortunately, were voyeurs. People are voyeurs into other people's lives. That's why reality shows have done so incredibly well, is because people are looking at these other people's lives and saying, wow, like, my life isn't so bad, right? If I look at these people, well, maybe, or they're finding some familiarity in the struggle, because that's, again, what we've been trained to do. So when we have the media and we have all of these other forces that are feeding us information that are intended to incite, like, if I noticed this the other day, I just kind of have become aware of what the media is saying and not saying. And so, for instance, they had something, let's just say, with the coronavirus that was going on. And it was particularly in New York State, where I live. And they wanted to, I guess they were looking to have people more careful and maybe bring in a little more areas that were controlled, where, you were restricted in what you were doing. And in that particular area, what they did the whole entire day is they showed these videos of all of these horrible things, and, how, people were dying. And again, I'm not saying people haven't died. And I actually have a family member who did pass away from COVID. So I get that. But when it's used against you to put you in a place of fear and to put you in a place of worry and not informed, that's where there's the problem. So that's what I think. So I think there is worry, but there's worry every single day. And there's always going to be something to worry about. And I think it's a matter of, in yourself, is, what are you listening to? What are you allowing to come into your frame of reference? And what are you going to be following? Right? Because for me, I don't listen to the news. I don't put on any radio stations. I have my own Spotify lists, and I do get the scoop of what's going on in the news every single day, but I just don't need to watch it, because if you also watch the news, it's the same horrible stories that replay over and over and over and over again. I can watch the news for 5 minutes and be crying in the first 3 minutes of it because of the terrible things that I see. So, when we become addicted to worry, what tends to happen many times is, again, misery loves company. So we may tend to look for more worry because it makes us feel better. But in the end of the day, it doesn't really make you feel better. It's just comfortable.
Right.
It makes you feel worse.
Right. There was two things that I was thinking of when you were talking that I wanted to share. One is, so I guess people know, probably most people know, that I had a daughter who passed away about a year ago. And the night she was born, she was medically transported for emergency open heart surgery, right? From New Jersey to New York. And so immediately there's probably not much that I can imagine that would have you more scared than your newborn baby going into open heart surgery, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And so, it became, I won't go into all of that, but it became one catastrophic event after another. And at some point, like, I remember the cardiologist, probably she was almost 2, saying maybe she has pulmonary hypertension, which would be fatal. And then she needed a kidney transplant, and then we needed so at some point, what I had to learn to do was to hear the conversation from the doctor and just go, I'm going to worry about that if it actually happens.
Yes.
I worry about every conversation where they sort of tell me what potentially could happen. Every surgery where you have to sign the waiver and they go through
the million things. Yes. Yes.
And so I'm just like, okay, I don't even want to hear, we have to do the surgery, right? So let me just sign it and not be living in, because in the beginning, every single word was like, oh my God, that. And I just was hanging on by my fingernails all the time. So I learned, and I, am thankful to really have this skill of do not take it on until it's actually true.
Happening. Linda, I think that is such sound guidance and advice, because, and there's another term that you use, which is catastrophic worry. So there's a difference between concern and attention and catastrophic worry.
Yes, huge difference.
Right? There's a huge difference. And I love that you said that you've developed the skill that, yes, there may be things that could go wrong, but I'm not going to focus. I'm going to focus on what I need to focus on right now and today.
Right.
I'm going to pay attention to what I have to pay attention to right now in this moment. And that's exactly what I recommend my clients to do. Is we're not putting our head in the sand and saying there's not things that we need to address. We're not putting our head in the sand and saying everything is unicorns and pink bubbles, right? It's not really. Really? But what I am saying is we address it when it happens.
Yes.
That we focus on the moment now. And I know that you, with your food, like the organic health journey, that's what I kind of consider to be the mental game that we need to choose to play, is just like what we're putting in food for our body. What are we putting in our brain? If you're waking up every day, watching the news, listening to the radio, listening to all the, getting involved in the circle at work where everybody's talking about how bad things are, how worried people are, and you just go from one worry to the next and the next and the next, there's no more concern. You're going to move yourself right into catastrophic worry.
Yes.
Which is unnecessary. See, I think that worry or concern could be helpful to us when it's in the right boundary, because we do want to make sure, like, should I worry? I don't want to put my hand in water where there's a hair dryer, right? Because I'm going to worry, like I could get electrocuted. Like that's going to help me, right? But if I'm constantly saying I can't be in the same bathroom with the water, with my hair dryer, because what happens if I potentially get electrocuted, right? It's your life would be crazy, right? Like you would be so overwhelmed. But when we go to the concern is a wonderful place to be. Suffering is not.
Yes.
And I think that is my huge thing when it comes to worry. Suffering is optional. You do not have to suffer, and you could choose not to suffer.
Yes.
But worry will put you in that suffering mode.
Yep. And that was the second thing that I wanted to share, which I'm going to show my age now. Do you even remember Reader's Digest?
I do. Matter of fact, I still enjoy, I'm showing my age too. I like Reader's Digest.
Yes. Yeah. So they used to have standard things that they did every edition, right? Yeah. And there was a story that I read there. I mean, it's 30 years ago, but it was so depicts exactly what we're talking about. It was a true story, because they would always have the true stories. Remember, like they were true. I don't know where I got them from, but they were true. And so this gentleman, this guy, was worked for the railroad, and he was one of the last ones at the end of the day. The train was parked, and he was finishing up some stuff, and he went into one of the train cars, and it was a refrigerator car. And he accidentally let the door close, and he was stuck in the refrigerator car. So the whole story is about this happening to him, and he started to panic about he was going to freeze to death. And then he found some paper, and he wrote a letter to his wife and his family that, because he was the last one. Nobody was going to find him until the next day. And wrote a letter saying, but the whole thing, and he did die. And the next day, or whenever somebody came into work, they found him dead with his letter to his family. The refrigerator car was not on. It wasn't cold.
Oh my gosh. I'm getting chills.
Yes. He had so worked himself up into, this is going to happen. Clearly, I'm never going to survive the night. He even wrote in the letter, it's freezing. I'm getting colder and colder. Like, I just want to go to sleep. I can't keep and it wasn't on.
It wasn't even on.
And so that was such a powerful story to me, because that shows the power of our brain and how we can create our reality. We can live into a whole thing that we're making up. And that
we will make up a story for everything. We will make meaning out of everything. We will make a story out of everything. And that's why when worry comes across our plate, is I love the proverbial box. Have you heard of this story? Have you done this one yet with your clients?
I don't know. Let's hear it.
Okay. Well, there's a couple of stories. One is the worry tree. And that is before you go in every night into your home or a day, whenever it is you're coming home, all of the worries that you had for the day, you leave on the worry tree before you enter into your home. Guess what? The worries aren't going anywhere. They're going to be there tomorrow. But when you enter your home is a place of peace, and it's a place of love, and it's a place for you to just rest from the day and enjoy your family and enjoy your time. But for me, what I find to be a very cool little exercise, again, is I'm not about putting your head under the sand when there's something that really needs attention and concern, because that's not going to help us either. If we're just denying what's going on, like, okay, well, I have a rash on my arm, but I don't have a rash. I'm just going to deny it. I'm going to deny it. I'm going to deny it, right? Until eventually your whole body is head to toe with rash. Like, you don't want to do that. But, there's a difference between saying, okay, worry, or okay, concern, whatever it is, and naming it, and saying, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that I'm managing it. And let's use the rash example. Okay, I notice a rash on my arm. Okay, rash, I notice you. This is different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take today and I'm going to maybe change the way I ate, right? Maybe there was something in that I ate the other day that just didn't agree with me, and I'm going to change the way that I eat. And then you put it in the proverbial box and say, I am paying attention to you. I am honoring you. I see you, but I'm putting you in the box and I'm putting you at the shelf now. And for the rest of the day, I am focused on my goals. For the rest of the day, I am focused on what it is I want to achieve, because I know that the issue at hand is definitely something for me to be concerned about, but I'm putting it in an objective and a boundaried place where it is safe, it is being honored, is being paid attention to. And then the rest of the day, I could be focusing on what I really want, because what you think about is what you bring about. Right? So what you're bringing and thinking about is what you're going to be creating. So now let's say tomorrow morning I wake up and the rash is still there. And let's say, my goodness, it came to both arms now. Now it was on one arm. Now it's on the other arm. Now what I could say is, okay, I changed what I was eating. This rash is still here. It's concerning. I'm going to call my doctor. I'm going to put in an appointment and I'm going to go for my appointment, and I'll make my appointment. And now again, at that day, you put it in the proverbial box. You give it its love and intention that it desires, and you put it away. So when you look at the rash, you don't overly become concerned. You don't go into this worry. You don't Google a million things that could be wrong with you. You don't, try to find people, wow, I have this rash. Do you know anyone who has a rash? Because it could be poison ivy or it could be anything, right? So you put it in that box, and then you continue your day focused on what it is you want, and you continue your day, because worry, I think, sometimes becomes even more incessant when we don't pay attention to it, what the issue at hand, right? It's like that little child that's bugging you and pulling at your leg, saying, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, mommy," until you say what, and then sometimes they're like nothing, or they run away, but they need the attention. So if we don't pay attention to what we're concerned or worry about, that could lead to more incessant worry.
Yes.
But it's also remembering inherently that the worry that you're experiencing isn't because of what's happening in the future. It's because you've already experienced it in the past. So now I think what really becomes just, I think, such a beautiful thing is that we become the masters of cause versus the victims to effect. Now we get to say, I don't need to go back 30 years in my life. I don't need to go back to Freudian psychology. I don't need to go back to figuring out what exactly happened. What I do need to know is give my body the space to know that whatever it experienced, it was traumatic. And now when I tell my body, you are safe, and everything is okay, and I do the things that I need to do in order to keep that going, like meditation or gratitude or things like that. Now we have something to work towards, because now we can retrain our body from worry to faith and power.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I do at night. So I used to, again, from years of Charlotte being in the hospital a lot, I would call during the night, and my body got used to waking up and calling, how's her night going?
Yep.
And then even if something wasn't going on with her, maybe my business, maybe I'm working with a client, and I'm sure I'm worried.
Yes. Yeah.
So what I do now, and it works pretty well, I've started to listen, is if I wake up in the middle of the night and my thoughts start going, I'll say to myself, This is my time. This is my time to rest. And if you let me rest, I'll be better able to handle this tomorrow when I'm rested. So
Yep.
just let me rest right now.
Yep.
I have to repeat that to myself 5, 6, 7, 8 times. But that's what I do is nope, if it starts again, nope, this is the rest time.
Yes, you put it in its place. Absolutely. Yes, you say nope, nope. And I use something too that really gives me a little bit of peace, and that's the all is well.
Okay.
All is well, because and this is my global belief system, is that the universe is always conspiring for us and never against us. And there really is perfect order in the universe. We may feel that things are completely out of whack. We may feel that we're at one end of the spectrum or the other, and that's valid and that's fair, but it's a feeling. And the truth behind it is the universe is always in perfect order and perfect balance. Right? If you think about just the way that nature is, the fall where I live, fall always comes, spring, right? Summer, nighttime, the moon, the sun, everything is in perfect order. Gravity, the air, we're in perfect order. So when I bring my brain back to just all is well, ultimately all is well. And what's ahead of me and what I'm facing is certainly an issue and a problem. And I have all the abilities and skills to manage through it. And if I can't, I'm sure we'll know someone who can, right? And I'll reach out to so I give myself the safety that I don't have to have all the answers either.
Yeah.
And the safety that another thing too is that it doesn't have to be figured out immediately. There's so much like, we got to figure this out right now, or I got to know my answer right now. And that took me a long time to develop that muscle, that all is well, and the issue and the problem will be resolved in due time.
Right. And I'm going to go and figure that out if I need to do that, but sitting here and worrying about it is not going to.
Right. Because if you think about it, there's a slow bleed, right? So worry is going to have you focused on everything that you're trying to avoid, and it's going to bleed energy from you. So you have no power left to create the life that you want to create and live in.
Yeah. Another thing that I sometimes suggest to my clients, and I've done this as well, whether it's the middle of the night I'm trying to sleep or whether it's just something that's distracting me during the day. If it's during the day, I might write it down or even keep a piece of paper.
I do that too. I have a journal next to my bed that I write it down. So if I wake up in the middle of the night and I really, for some reason, the thoughts are ruminating, I write it down so I know tomorrow morning it's going to be there and I'll address it then.
Yep. I'll do that. But also the Ho'oponopono prayer.
Yep.
I'll use that a lot, especially if my worry is around a conflict.
Yes.
Or even if it's just I'm doubting myself, even if I'm not in conflict with someone, but I'm doubting myself and my ability. So the Ho'oponopono prayer, if somebody is not familiar with it, it's an ancient Hawaiian prayer, and it's just 4 sentences. It's
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me.
Excuse me and thank you.
Yeah. And you can say it in whatever order. It's just those 4 phrases, and I can repeat that. And it might be I'm sorry that I'm worried about this. It might be I'm sorry that I'm unsure of myself. It might be I'm sorry that we are in conflict.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking responsibility for all the conflict, but I'm sorry we are in conflict. Whatever it is, but I can repeat that over and over.
Yep.
That will that's very soothing to me. That allows me to let the worry dissipate.
I'm a big fan of the Ho'oponopono prayer. Big fan of that, because there is, you're essentially neutralizing the bad vibes or energy or toxicity that is happening between two people that we can't see, right? It's in that energetic realm. Not only are you neutralizing it, but then you're replacing it with love.
Yes, yes. Even if it's my own energy with myself, even if me upset at myself for how I handled something, or I'm seeing myself as lacking in some way, so just Susan asks, is that a prayer to yourself? Is that a child talking to? It's just a prayer to shift the energy. Actually, when I actually took a course on it, and the first sentence is I love you, and that's actually invoking the way that it was taught in the course, is evoking God. So anytime love is verbalized, that God listens. So the universe, that energy of love,
That's very interesting. So it invokes love immediately. Yeah.
invokes love immediately. So you could say, if you believe in God, you could say God hears that. If you don't believe in God, you could say just the universe and the bigger realm than is us gets triggered. So
Yeah.
I love you. I'm sorry, according to this course. This was like a 10-hour course I took on this prayer. Not kidding. I'm sorry that I forgot my connection to you. Meaning,
Oh, very interesting.
I'm sorry, I forgot how pure I really am. Like you could, there were a few different spins, whatever works for you, right? But like that we came into this earth pure, like an open slate, and we've burdened ourselves with beliefs and judgments and conflict, right? I'm sorry, I forgot that I am connected to you. Please forgive me, saying, and that's kind of like, I'm going to let this go. I'm going to stop worrying about it. I'm going to let it go. Thank you. So, and then you end with that gratitude. So restoring the gratitude. So that was, according to this course that I took, the meaning of those 4 sentences. And so I try to remember that when I use the prayer, because that really gets me like, I don't know.
I love that. I'm so glad you brought that up. And even just going back to the part where you said the I'm sorry part, where, what did you say the I'm sorry is again?
I'm sorry, I
forgot. Okay. So have you ever been in a situation, let's just say with a person, when you've had a conflict with that person, you were at that particular moment, you were what I would say self-actualized, you were connected to the divine, you just felt really amazing. Have you ever noticed that that other person's anger or sadness didn't necessarily affect you, that you didn't feel the need to go in there and defend yourself or continue the drama, that it was almost as if you were just allowing that person to say what they needed to say, you honor them, and you moved on? And it was just a very lovely interaction, even though there was conflict.
Yes.
And I love that I'm sorry piece, because I think that that's, to me, is what that is that when you get to the point where you really are that self-actualized, or you are that divinely connected and you are grounded, at least I feel there's a decrease in the need to engage in conflict or worry, because now it becomes a choice. It no longer becomes a reaction. You get to respond to it versus react to it, because you have the energy to do so.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The gentleman who taught this course was a Hawaiian man who was probably in his late 70s.
Yep. Did you do it with Joe Vitale? Was it? Yeah, Joe Vitale. Yeah.
Joe Vitale, and he had this guy come in.
Yeah, he was the one who actually, if I recall from the course, he was actually the one who was the psychiatrist who healed.
Yes, I wish I could tell that story. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. So it was a Hawaiian psychiatrist who ended up healing all his patients without ever seeing them face to face. And he did it all through this prayer.
And one step further, word got out. So word got out about him and how powerful this was. And he was hired to actually work with inmates in a jail.
That's right. Yes.
Remember that?
Yes,
so
I do.
Really, really, I think they were all men.
Yes.
Really,
with severe issues.
I was going to say very severe. These weren't like, they wrote a bad check. These were
guys. These were like bad people.
And
or let me rephrase that. Actions were bad, because people will separate the people from the behavior. Their actions were very bad.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. And this Hawaiian man, by doing the Ho'oponopono, and it comes from really this whole background of who you are in the universe in connection to the divine, and that the Hawaiians really feel like they change the energy globally by saying this prayer. They do it regularly. I mean, I don't know if the young generation is still doing this, but throughout time, Hawaiians have been doing that as a way of clearing energy globally. So he was doing this prayer, and the worst prisoners who were resistant to treatment in the prison, who were not responding, who couldn't be socialized, slowly got better and better and better. And he never saw them face to face.
Yep.
That's how he became really famous. And then Joe Vitale started working with him, and then they offered this course. And
I always love the one part, and you'll probably get a kick out of this, because I have never taken the course, but I've read Joe Vitale's books. I followed this psychiatrist. Being that I'm a psychotherapist, like, I find it very interesting. I practice the Ho'oponopono prayer. But Joe Vitale was talking about when they were going on the road to teach people this on, I guess classes or seminars, you would say. And Joe Vitale was kind of like what I would say Americanized, like, okay, we're gonna go to this location at this time. You'll have your opening at this time. I'll speak, and at this time you'll do this. At this time I'll do that. Here's our script. Here's what we're gonna say. Here's the handouts that we're going to do. And this Hawaiian psychiatrist would say, "Whoa, Joe, like, step back." He goes, "But I don't work and I don't do that." He goes, "We're gonna go to these locations with no materials, with no plans, and we're going to tap into the divine, and that's how we're going to know how to lead these sessions."
Yeah.
Because you don't need that background. And I remember Joe saying how difficult it was for him. And then the other part, which I thought was fascinating, and this is where you come in, is Joe, I guess, takes him to a baseball game. And he goes right over, this Hawaiian psychiatrist goes right over and gets like a dirty water dog, hot dog with a bun, with the onions. And Joe Vitale's looking at him going like, "Dude, don't you eat like grass or don't you eat, like you're like this organic, you're this highly spiritual person. You're healing thousands of people through the work you do. And, don't you maybe want like cucumber juice or something?" And he said, Joe, he goes, "It's not the hot dog that will kill me. It's my thoughts about the hot dog that are going to kill me."
Yes. And it's such an interesting conversation. And as I work with clients, we start out with the eating grass part, because
do you really? That's funny.
Kind of. But I mean, I start right away, especially if people hop on the calls with me, we get a little more into it. But people want to know the strategy. What do I need to change to eat? They're not really ready to say, and this myself included, I was like, wait, what? I caused the autoimmune issues? Really? I did that?
Yes.
It's called autoimmunity. I did that. But yes, it's really how you think and feel about yourself. And so when people, not everybody can do it. Like, we all have our experience in the world, but when people can get to the place where they have so accepted who they are and their life and their identity and what's happened, and they've let it go, and energy. Ooh, I almost just, by the way, new microphone, just want to show you.
Wow, you got a fancy microphone, girl. Here's my microphone.
I just almost knocked it over. But anyway, so when you get to that place, then you can eat what your heart wants to eat, but you want to eat well. Maybe you want a dirty water dog when you go to a ball game, like that guy did. I wouldn't want one, but he did. But you want to eat well regularly because you love who you are, and you're at peace with your experiences, and you've let that energy move through. So you want to take care of your physical body. And that means that you can have something that today might totally send you in a tailspin, but it doesn't anymore because of your alignment.
And oh my God, this is where you could see my energy, and I'm starting to get red. I could feel it. It's the same thing with how we show up in the world with our thoughts, is that, when you become aware of concern and worry, or you become aware of the toxic thoughts and emotions that we experience, and when you truly are loving yourself and you're doing the work to reclaim your brilliance and fall in love with yourself again, at least with my clients, when you get that toxic thought, you actually you become aware of it, and you choose not to choose it.
Yeah.
And it really does become this, You only want to put the good things in your body, and you're no longer the victim to conditioning and how things were. You now are the master of cause, and you're now creating your future, and you're stepping into this role. And those toxic thoughts and emotions come up, and you recognize them, you become aware of them, and you're able to replace them spontaneously. And your body isn't, you don't feel so exhausted.
Yes.
You don't feel so worried, and you don't feel so anxious.
Yep. And you take the focus off the symptoms and what's going to happen, and more of like, I'm whole and complete. I can eat this and enjoy it and love it, and not bring in that negative energy. I did something wrong. Oh, I can't stick with the program. Like all of that, that's what pulls you down the rabbit hole. But if you're just like, whole and complete and loving yourself, and that 9 times out of 10 you make this choice, but this time
you chose that, and why not?
Right.
I love it.
So anyway, boy, that was really a trajectory off.
We went over a little over, guys, because I know we try to keep it to a half an hour, but I don't know. Why not? Normally we keep it to a half an hour. Today we did 45 minutes.
There you go. We learned from Joe Vitale's guest psychiatrist. So anyway, thank you for sharing your wisdom. For my folks, we are dealing with the realm of health, and our diet is not just what's going in our mouth. Our diet is everything that we're allowing into our body, thoughts, how we're managing that. And for your folks, people are looking to really create the next season of their life, right?
Next season of their life, yeah.
What are they bringing with them, and what are they letting go?
Yeah,
right? I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So where can people get a hold of you, Donna? Donna, I'm going to put it in the comments.
I'll write it right here so they could go right to my website. And I work with women who are post-divorce looking to reclaim their brilliance and fall in love with themselves again and start their next season of their life. And it could be a divorce doesn't necessarily mean a marriage. It could be that there was a relationship or there was a fracture in the relationship, and you're finding yourself not really able to move forward, but knowing deep down inside, like that's what I hear often from my clients is, I know deep down inside there's this life for me, that there's a partner for me, that there's a companion for me. Mm-hmm. And I know deep down inside that there's a life that is more expansive than the one that I'm living now, but I just don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
Just don't know how to do that.
Yep.
So that's the peeps that I work with.
Awesome. So where did you just type that? Am I going to see that?
I typed it in the chat. Did you see it in the comments?
I see private chat. Oh, so
wait a minute. I think.
Yeah, that's a chat from you.
I see the comments. I can see them.
Oh, good. Now you can see them.
Yes, I see them
from the beginning. Let me post Donna Rudowitz.
It's .com. Yeah, and Suzanne was asking where I live in New York. I live in Stony Brook, Long Island, New York.
DonnaRudowitz.com, right? That's what I just did.
DonnaRudowitz.com.
Okay. And then we're on my platform, so people are
seeing. And you just have to show it to people. Yeah. You could show the comment with my website so they see it.
Oh, how do I show that? Oh, okay. Show. There you go.
We're getting the hang of StreamYard. If nothing else.
I'm making myself long. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
I'm sorry. I love you. Forgive me. Thank you.
But what I did want to say also, and you maybe want to let your folks know, Donna, I'm doing a free 5-day workshop starting next week. It's totally for free. It's going to be an hour, maybe a little more than an hour. Obviously, we tend to go over. Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. But if you can't.
So you're doing it every day, Monday through Friday at 7 p.m.
Yep, for an hour. And it's going to be on the different pillars of health.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. From a functional perspective, where do we look to uncover? Not that everybody has every issue, but where do we go to work and look and uncover to get people well? So it's a free workshop. There is going to be like a VIP upgrade if you want to pay. It's like $10 a day, but then you'll get handouts and stuff sent to you so you don't have to take notes, and you'll get recordings of the class.
How do I refer my clients to that?
So Organic Health Journey, and I'll send you the link. I'm waiting for my VA to send me the links to sign. Okay. And as soon as I have those links, I'll get them to you. But you could just tell them, or they could go to my page. But it's free workshop next week. Okay.
So next week, beginning, just to make sure we have the dates correct, just for everybody who's listening.
Yeah.
So the date would be October 26th through October 30th.
Yep, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern time every night. It shocked me that I actually had the same hour across the week open, but I do. But even if you can't go live, if you join the workshop, you'll have access to listening to it for some length of time afterwards. They'll be.
All right, I know Michelle is asking, where will that info be posted?
So is Michelle one of your folks, or
it's Michelle Masoni?
Yeah. Hi, Michelle. So I'm going to be doing lives, about that here in my page, Organic Health Journey, and in my group. And I do it everywhere. So you'll see it. And again, as soon as I have but now that I know you're interested, Michelle, I'm keeping a little track of people who are like, yeah, I'm interested. So that I'll make sure I'll just send you the link if you want.
Send a PM or something. Perfect. Awesome.
Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you. Yay.
Yeah. Awesome conversation. Again, thank you as usual for this. And because these are the conversations that, guys, seriously are going to transform your lives, because we don't know what we don't know. And until we understand those little things that are stealing our energy, I call them energy vampires, right? That are stealing our energy, that are stealing our happiness without us knowing, because they're running on a subconscious level. But now that we know, we can do something about it. When we become aware of it, now they're no longer like, why is this happening, or why am I worrying? Now you get to ask yourself the question, what can I do to manage this worry? What can I do to bring this worry from catastrophic to a concern?
Yeah.
Is this a catastrophic worry? Listen, if you get into an accident and you got half of your limb hanging out of your leg, that's a catastrophic worry. You're going to want to call the ambulance immediately. Get there and make sure that if you're not calling the ambulance, someone calls it before you pass out, right? Yeah. Because that's a catastrophic worry. But if there's, if there's things that are going on in your family, or things that you're experiencing every day that are just really annoying you and they're triggering you, it is absolutely a concern. But now you get to ask yourself the question is, how do I manage it? What can I do to manage this worry? What can I do to manage this concern? And then also putting yourself in your own place. Sometimes we have to slap ourselves in our own face and say, calm down, like, wait a minute, you don't need to be spinning on this.
Right. Like, do you need to spend the next 2 weeks worrying what's going to be the outcome?
Is this worth my investment in time? Guys, I hate to say this. I hope everybody listening to this conversation, I believe we're going to live to 125 or 50, whatever the Bible says. I forgot. I think 120 years is what the Bible tells me. So I'm sticking to that. Healthy and happy, 120 years. But to be real, we don't know. And every moment, that's our most valuable commodity, is our time.
Yeah.
And is it worth worrying about? Is it worth allowing those gremlins to steal your thieves of joy? Is it worth your thief of joy to be taken from you? Or is it really in your best interest to put it on the proverbial shelf, know that it's there, and then bring your life back on track?
Yeah. Don't be like the guy in the unrefrigerated train car.
Yes.
That's a powerful story for me.
How it is to me too. All right, Chicky, I'll see you later.
All right. Have a great day, Donna. Thank you, everybody. Ciao.
Thank you.